Imagine meeting two people separated by 50 years. Both graduate from school with similar ambitions, both find stable full-time jobs, and both are willing to work diligently, save consistently, and build a better life than the one they started with. On the surface, their stories begin almost identically. Yet as the years unfold, their financial realities begin to drift apart in ways that are difficult to ignore. One is eventually able to buy a home in their early 30s, raise a family on a single income, and steadily build wealth through appreciating assets. The other earns more money in nominal terms than the first ever did, but still struggles to afford housing, carries debt for longer, and feels as though financial stability remains just beyond reach. This contrast raises an uncomfortable question. Has the American dream changed, or has the economy around it changed so dramatically that the same path no longer leads to the same destination? The American dream has never been a guarantee. It has always been an idea built around opportunity rather than certainty. The promise was simple enough to understand. If you worked consistently, developed useful skills, and made responsible financial decisions, you could reasonably expect your standard of living to improve over time. That expectation shaped generations of economic decisions, influencing where people lived, how they spent money, and what they believed was possible for their families. But expectations formed under one economic system do not always survive when that system evolves. One of the biggest psychological shifts comes from the way people compare effort with outcomes. Most of us naturally assume that if we work harder than previous generations, our results should at least be comparable. Yet economics rarely works according to effort alone. It responds to prices, incentives, productivity, and the relationship between income and the cost of essential goods. When those relationships change, even disciplined financial behavior can produce very different outcomes. Housing provides one of the clearest examples. For many families in previous decades, purchasing a home represented both stability and wealth creation. Monthly payments often consumed a smaller share of household income than they do in many markets today, allowing families to save while simultaneously building equity. As property values appreciated over long periods, homeowners accumulated wealth almost automatically through ownership rather than through extraordinary investment skill. Today, many prospective buyers face a different equation. Higher home prices, larger down payment requirements, and elevated borrowing costs mean that entering the housing market often requires years of additional saving before wealth building can even begin. Then there is inflation, one of the least visible yet most influential forces in personal finance. Inflation does not simply raise prices, it changes behavior. When everyday necessities become more expensive, households naturally allocate a greater portion of their income toward immediate needs. Money that might otherwise have been invested or saved instead disappears into higher grocery bills, rent payments, transportation costs, or healthcare expenses. Even modest differences repeated year after year compound into substantial changes in long-term wealth. This is where mathematics quietly reshapes financial lives. Imagine two individuals with identical salaries. One consistently has 10% of their income available for investing, while the other can only invest 2% because fixed expenses consume everything else. Over decades, the gap between them grows far larger than the original difference in savings rate. Compound growth rewards money that enters the system early, meaning the ability to invest consistently often matters as much as the amount invested. Small constraints today can become significant differences tomorrow. These economic realities also influence psychology. When progress feels slower despite sustained effort, many people begin questioning their own decisions. Some assume they simply are not working hard enough, while others abandon long-term planning altogether because the rewards seem increasingly distant. Yet understanding systemic changes helps explain why individual experiences may differ from those of previous generations without assuming personal failure. Perhaps the most important shift is redefining what the American dream means in a changing economy. For some, it may still involve homeownership and traditional milestones. For others, it may center on financial resilience, diversified investments, career flexibility, or the ability to maintain independence despite economic uncertainty. The destination may evolve even if the underlying goal remains the same, creating a life with greater security and opportunity than before. The American dream has not disappeared, nor has it remained unchanged. It exists within an economy that continues to evolve, rewarding different skills, different financial habits, and different forms of adaptability than it once did. Understanding these structural changes does not provide an easy solution, but it offers something equally valuable: perspective. When we recognize that financial outcomes are shaped by both personal choices and broader economic systems, we replace frustration with understanding. And that understanding is often the first step toward making better decisions in the world as it exists today, rather than the one many people remember.